Welcome back to the Lou Perez podcast. My name is Lou Perez. If you'd like to support the podcast, please head over to thelouperez.locals.com and join the Lou Perez community. If you join, you'll get to listen to the podcast early. You'll get to watch my sketch comedy early, as well as experience other exclusive content. So I hope you enjoy it. And if you're looking for another way to support me, you can do so by supporting my sponsors. So if you're into cold brew, I highly recommend Black Organic Cold Brew. Head over to www.blvckbrew.com and use promo code LOU, that's LOU, and you'll get free shipping. And if you're into CBD products, please check out Paloma Verde, www.palomaverdestore.com. And if you use the code LOU, you'll get 25% off purchases over $75. And if you sign up for email, you'll get an extra 10% off as well. All right, here we go. They're just waiting for you to make one mistake. One fucking mistake, and then they're done with you. I'm very happy to be joined by my next guest, Mr. KT Tatara. And I've already been told in the pre-show that I butchered the name. I butchered his last name. So please, I can't educate myself on this. Could you educate me? How do you pronounce your last name?
Well, I've said it Tatara my whole life, but
okay.
That's kind of like a American English accent, I guess, to it. You know, in Japanese, it's kind of all the syllables are even, so it's like Tatara, so it's like Tatara would be
Tatara.
kind of, yeah. But
I mean, like that. That's more fun.
Yeah, I just always think it's weird when people kind of jump into an accent abruptly, you know?
That would be really weird. Yeah.
Hi, my name's KT Tatara. You know, like, you know.
Well, there was an article I saw recently. I didn't read it. I just read the headline, so I'm already an asshole. But it had something to do with I believe it was an Asian woman complaining about Americans not pronouncing Asian names correctly, and how that is a huge sign of respect and also a sign of racism. And it was fun. It was funny to look in the comment section. You basically had all of these Polish people being like, welcome to my world. You know?
Yeah. I think a lot of I understand the gripes that a lot of people have, because, you know, it's kind of annoying after a while having to explain this, but at the same time, I think it's just a numbers thing, right? Like Asian Americans are like 5% of the population. That's, you know, whatever, 1 in 20. Like, chances are you're not going to run into, and especially when Asians, you know, make up like tons of different countries, you're not going to be familiar with all these names. So it's not so much like a racist thing. Although obviously there are people that are, you know, racist. They do it on purpose. Like they purposely fuck up your name. But, you know, when someone just doesn't know how to say it, and it may not be because they're racist, it's just they've never met someone with that name before. So, you know, I don't know. I think some people, they're going to get mad at me for this, but I think some people are just like, they don't know how to deal with stuff and they get overly sensitive. And I've done it too. I'm not saying like I'm perfect. I've definitely gotten hypersensitive to things in the past, but
dude, you threatened to walk off my show.
I did in the pre-show, bro. I was like, if you can't get this right,
you're out.
Well, you know, it's
here.
just like people, you got to learn some coping skills, man. You're going to run into people that just, you know, it's going to be annoying. Life's annoying, you know. Right. You're going to run into this stuff. And this kind of public grievance thing where a lot of people jump in and they're like, yeah, that happened to me. That happened to me. It's like, this is not healthy. It's like this public group therapy without the therapist. Mm-hmm. So everyone's just indulging in the trauma or whatever their issue is, which, like I said, I may have experienced or felt the same way, but it's like, yeah, then I went to therapy and I talked it out with people. I talked it out some other thing. You kind of deal with it so you can kind of approach the world a little differently. And
yeah, it seems like there, you know, it used to be you would see people who have gone through, you know, real hardship and come out basically saying like, you're not going to hold me down. I'm not going to allow you to, you know, disrespect me or lower me. I'm going to rise above that. And we used to look at those people as heroes, like, wow, here's somebody who is basically, you know, staring, you know, haters in the face and saying, no, I'm not going to do it. But now it's like, no, no, if I can be a victim in any which way, I'm, that's like the new thing. Like it's better for me to be a victimized than,
Yeah, I don't know how much of a conscious thing that is. I think there's some people that probably consciously recognize that and do that, but there's a social currency to letting everyone know how you've been affected by something, with the idea that if we let everybody know and if we all share our experiences, it'll get better. But what you've seen over the last 10 years in terms of social media, it just makes this process go on indefinitely. Like I don't know if anyone's really been healing from this. It just more people come out with their issues, and then everyone's just in this state of like, oh, this
yeah,
sucks, and more people need to know, and we're kind of stuck in first gear with our like healing. It's like we need to start the conversation. I've heard that for like 10 years. It's like, are we gonna get it started or what? Like, what are we doing?
yeah. When I look back at growing up and, having being Latino, and
Latinx,
Latin.
Latino.
Well, now I'm Latinx. Now I'm Latin. If it's gonna help my career, shit, I'll be Latinx, no problem.
Wait, sorry
But
to cut you off, but have you ever gotten corrected by that by someone who's not Latino? Have
no,
they?
no,
Oh man, I
no,
can't
no,
wait for that.
no. Apparently, I have a family member. But I don't want to be too specific because I don't want anyone to find out who they are. But apparently, they're buying uh, children's books to educate their children on Latinx stuff and all of that. And I'm just sort of like, you could you can call me up. I could talk to your kids about about whatever you want to talk about. But when I was growing up, I have a number of personal accounts facing racism,
Hmm.
whether it was being called a spick,
Hmm.
being targeted um, at camp because of it. I was called a spick. I was called Julio. I was like degraded. In high school, I had a big problem with a coach of mine who insisted on calling me Lopez instead of Perez.
Whoa.
It was like a whole big thing. There was like a big blow up, and this whole thing. It's a lot to get into, but when I look back on those,
This was in New York.
yeah, yeah, in New York and
Wow.
mostly like Long Island and when I look back at that stuff, obviously I think it's fucked up because I was a kid, right? But I'm looking back as a man saying, uh, I will never allow that to happen to me or or my children. I'm not looking to, I'm not even looking to shame the person. I wish I can go back in time, with who I am now and, beat the shit out of the kids who did it,
Yeah.
to take on the adults or the people in, that were in positions of power
Yeah.
who allowed it to happen. It's a for me, it's not like oh, I'm gonna kind of curl up and allow that to devour me. And there were also examples growing up too where there were times when I allowed myself to to succumb to that, like
Yeah.
I'm not, this isn't happening because of my last name, and people are looking down on me, blah blah blah. And
Yeah. Sure.
at the end of the day, like that's just not going to help you succeed or to move on or to grow or to get stronger, so.
Yeah, I think there's like a confusion. I mean, there's definitely people that are real dismissive of that kind of
Mhm.
stuff, and I try to acknowledge this. I think that definitely, is natural. It happens. It's just kind of like, what do we do after that? And there seems to be kind of this different. We kind of have two extreme philosophies, which is just indulge in that forever to let everyone know that they've been caused pain, and you have to stay in pain to let everyone know that pain has been caused. And then this opposite, super insensitive side, which is just suck it up, you pussy, whatever. Don't be a
Right.
bitch, whatever. And just, you shouldn't, it's something else is the problem, and survival of the fittest or something like that. And it's
Mhm.
kind of like, why do we have these like two? This is and maybe this is just a consequence of like, social media and Twitter and stuff, but it's like, that's the only answers here. It's like we
Yeah.
need to constantly be in pain, or we need to just, everyone needs to shut the fuck up and be a pussy. And I'm like, or not be a pussy. And it's like, well, we need to acknowledge that this happens and people are affected that way, but let's help get them out of that situation and kind of grow and be stronger. afterwards. And we're kind of missing that component. At least it seems like in like a lot of the social discourse and stuff, especially when it comes to comedy. I try to look through everything through the lens of comedy. It's the only thing I really care about. And all this stuff has gotten like intertwined with comedy, all this kind of like activism stuff in regards to like racial things and stuff. And it's just not funny, man. It's
Yeah.
just like, it's corny and like lame to me. It's not that I never had anything happen to me. Sometimes people say that. Sometimes people are like, oh, dude, well, you don't, because I'm half white, half Japanese. So people, oh, you're half white, bro. You don't know. You never got. I'm like, are you kidding? You think I've never been called a chink because I'm half white? Like some racist out there is like, oh, no, you're good. You know what I mean? Like they don't care. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they just go, not white. We're gonna say something fucked up about you. You know, it's like that. It's not that it's never happened to me. It's just that you got to find some coping and processing skills and to get through it. And that's why I try to make jokes addressing it, but then also like how to flip it around and be stronger about it. I think one of the things is this punching up idea, right? You know, it's like good comedy punches up and blah, blah, whatever that is. I hate that. I don't understand punching up, punching down. There's no punching. It's just jokes, whatever direction. But the idea that you only have to punch up kind of inherently puts you on your back permanently. You know, you're always just everything is above me. I'm punching up. You're never like flipping it or whatever. You're never in control of the situation, you know? And I feel like before the idea was always about like, how do you get yourself, you know, you turn it around like, oh no, you're punching down on me. No, I'm punching down on you, you know? And maybe that sounds too aggressive, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, I feel like that's more empowering.
Yeah, you know, so a couple of things, you know, I think with so much stuff sort of centered around identity, you know, I think you hit on something that is a huge part of your identity, which is that you're a comedian, you know, so it's almost like you know, there's race stuff, there's class stuff, but then there's also like this is our profession and
Yeah.
also the way we see the world. You know, I happen to think that there's something, you know, there's something different about comedians and the way that we see the world as opposed to, you know, other people. Like we, you know, for the most part say things normal people aren't supposed to say or you're not supposed to hear, and that and that's the fun of it, but also it's a part of like, you know, who we are. On the, you know, the punching up versus punching down thing, I've been thinking a lot about this idea that I think kind of has a lot to do with that, this idea of speaking truth to power,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And the idea that comedy speaks truth to power. And I'm wondering, I'm like, well, when did comedy stop just being about speaking the truth? Why did this power component come into it? And I'm starting to think that the power component comes into it because when you're
yeah.
just speaking the truth, well, sometimes that involves punching down. You know, when you're speaking the truth, like sometimes that involves, you know, calling out a quote unquote protected class of people
Yeah.
who you're not supposed to make fun of or not supposed to call out on their bullshit. You know, so you add this power element to it so that you, oh no, you need to be punching up because, you know, you can say this about, you know, no man, take on the president. You know, no, take on the president. Don't take on this, you know, these other people. And I feel like it's I don't know if it's a conscious thing, but it just seems like a you know, just a way for us not to have those icky conversations. I think similar to what you were saying, where,
Yeah.
you know, the people who are like either you know, it's, you know, everything is racist or you don't acknowledge it at all. And it's like, well, no, both those groups, it gets messy when you have to acknowledge like,
Yeah.
you know, somewhere in the middle, what's going on, the nuance there.
Yeah. Yeah, and in regards to comedy, it seems like you can really only have one acceptable take. And also people I found with audiences over the last, you know, this is probably like last 5-6 years, people are already kind of in their heads of like which way you're going with it. Like I know from doing shows in Vegas a lot, you know, a lot of times Vegas is you know, it's touristy. A lot of times the comedy shows skew a lot older. You wouldn't think so because it's Vegas, but if you think about it, everyone who's young in Vegas is at a pool party or whatever. Like
They're
they're not
renting a
trying to,
cabana and, you
yeah,
know,
they're not trying to hang
bottle
out at a
service.
comedy club or whatever, you know. So there and there are young people that come in, but average age skews older, probably than even most comedy clubs. And it also tends to skew a little bit more conservative, especially in some of the other rooms. You know, depending on the price point or something like that, you kind of get an older crowd that, you know, that's their thing for the night. They're kind of going to do a comedy show. What was interesting, especially back, you know, in the 2016 election and 2017 after the 2016 election, you get people coming in like they already have their mind made up. Some people would tell people at the door, there better not be any Trump jokes tonight. Like they're fired up. And then if they get a whiff of you being liberal on stage, they're like,
Yeah.
dude, SJW. But then similarly, you get the opposite thing where if you do anything that sounds a little bit against some far left or progressive narrative, they're like, this white supremacist conservative. And so people just catch a whiff of something. They're like, I know where he's going with this. And it's like, dude, this is just comedy. This is jokes. I've always held this position. I'm like, comedy is not meant to be taken seriously. You either laugh or you don't. End of story. If you walk out of there and you're like, yeah, they do sound like that. They do got fucked up names. You're doing it wrong, right? You're not supposed to be taking it that way. You're not supposed to getting out there all fired up and ready to do something. And similarly, if you're super hurt and you're walking out of there like, oh man, that was really, and that messed up my thing because of my identity, you're doing it wrong. I'm sorry. It's like, that's not meant to be taken that way, you know? And so I can apologize in the sense that I'm sorry you took it that way. I don't want you to be hurt. That wasn't the intention. But at the same time, it's like, how much responsibility does the speaker have and how much responsibility does the receiver have? If we're going to hold people that are walking out, taking a joke too seriously, like a racial joke or gender joke, something like that, and then they walk out of there and they start acting racist or sexist towards people, like they're wrong. It's not the
Yeah,
speaker's
I
fault.
think
That's the
Bill Burr
receiver.
said something like that. He's like, nobody's left my left one of my shows and gone out and like, you know, committed a hate crime or something. I'm
Yeah, exactly.
paraphrasing, but because of something that he said on
Yeah, and then
stage.
never, and honestly, I don't think that's ever happened at any comedy show.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
if we accept that would be wrong, right? Like we would all understand that the blame would go on the person that committed something, because clearly, if you perform for 300 people or 15,000 people, whatever it is, and one person goes commits some hate crime, it's probably that person's fault and not, you know, the speaker, because everyone else didn't interpret that way. But similarly, if someone walks out hurt and they're upset and they're mad and, you know, they feel erased or whatever it is, then I think we have to equally say, well, this person's also interpreting it wrong. And, you know, I don't think we should be insensitive to that person. Just go, you fucking pussy, whatever. It's just try to explain to them and kind of see where they're coming edge and go, you know, this is not healthy and not helpful. And look at all the other people that didn't take it that way, you know? And that's hard for people to like hear and accept, you know?
Well, it's such a I think one of the things about, you know, going to like a comedy showcase is, for the most part, I mean, you would, people going there might know who the comedians are, and that's great, you know, if you have like an audience that comes to see you in particular.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I mean, unless you're repeating something on your album, you know, they shouldn't know what the punchline's going to be. You know, they shouldn't have like a, you know, it's the job of the comedian to, you know, bring them over here and then, you know,
Yeah.
you
There's
know,
a
spin
leap.
it. Yeah. And you know, I sometimes I do wonder, you know, what are people, you know, what are people after when they go to a comedy show? You know, in particular, like an audience.
Mm.
You know, last night was the first time that I've performed stand up in over a year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been over a year. So before last night, the last time I performed stand up was in like March of 2020.
Yeah.
Um, it was, you know, right when kind of like the shit was really hitting the fan.
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine, he said, yeah, there's a, you know, I have a spot if you want it. And I'm like, sure. And I, you know, I kind of immediately said yes, but then after that, I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be horrible. I haven't done, you know, I haven't been up speaking in front of people.
Yeah.
And also in that environment, in like a closed room, you know, like
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the with everything going on.
Was it indoors in New
It
York
was
now? Or?
indoors. Yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay.
it was indoors. So I got there and I spoke to the host of the show. We introduced, and I I said to her, yeah, you know, I haven't performed in over a year. And she gave me a look like, because she books like professional comedians. You know, she books people with uh, who have performed. Let's just say, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, here I was, and I was just like, oh man, I shouldn't have told her that at all. Like I should.
Yeah.
I almost felt like, you know, if you after like a bad breakup. Like, don't tell the first girl you sleep with that you're that
Right.
she's the first girl you're sleeping with.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but it was in Forest Hills, Queens. There's a place called Dylan's, really nice venue. It's like a restaurant, music space. The place was, you know, decently packed, and I got to go up there and do a set. And thankfully I wasn't as rusty as I thought I would be. You know, obviously, you know, there's some bits that I hadn't done in a long time, so I'm like, oh, I forgot I dropped that line and all that. But
yeah.
it was a really good experience because the audience wanted to be there, you know, and
Right,
it was like it was an actual comedy audience that they wanted to see live comedy. And with everything
right.
that's been going on,
Oh,
it was
man.
sort of like, it's like you don't get that often. So you know,
Yeah,
the comedians wanted to be up there performing, and the people wanted to be seeing a live
yeah,
performance. And I'm so happy that I did it because it reminded me just how much I like it. And not only did I have fun performing on it, but I also had fun as an audience member watching the other
yeah.
comedians. And there was something going on with all the other comedians because like some people made Trump jokes, some people made Cuomo jokes, and you couldn't tell where
Hmm.
people were, you know, politically, you
The
know.
comedians, you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, the comedians. My one buddy did a set, and he's like, "Yeah, you know, I'm liberal, blah blah blah." But it's like, yeah, but you're a different kind of liberal. You're like a traditional liberal who's ready to make fun of stuff, and you know,
Yeah.
and is open. It's, um, you know, yeah, old school 1990s, you know, sort of liberal.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
kind of like what he was doing there. But it was great, and it felt like it felt like comedy was sort of back to where it was supposed to be, where I spend so much of my time
Yeah.
online. Spend so much of my time online where jokes are divisive, where jokes, you know, can get you kicked off of a platform. And here it's like, no, these are jokes to make
Yeah.
people laugh. So
Yeah, man. I mean, I just when people take these things seriously, I just always think of it like people always go, "Oh, he's trying to get away with he's trying to promote hate speech by saying it's just a joke." And I was
mhm.
like, it doesn't jokes are not meant to be taken seriously, okay? You wouldn't go to like a magic show and be like, "He's trying to promote sawing people in half by saying it's just an illusion." Right? It's like going into it, the shit's not real. You
Right.
take it with that and you walk out and go, "Oh, I don't know how that happened." People don't do that with jokes. They walk out of there like it was a sermon or something, and they're just like, "Can you believe he's on that shit?" You know, and it's just
Yeah.
like, why are we not doing that? And that's it. I've heard that from some other people. Doing a lot of these shows. I did one back in September, um, an outdoor show in LA, and it wasn't that many people, but I did get that feeling that people just wanted to see something. People were just out, and they were just kind of in for whatever you got, you know. And it's kind of seen that way from a lot of the shows that have been going on all over the place. I don't know in other states and stuff, but at least in LA, from what it seems like, and I remember feeling this like about 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, that it seemed like there was a definite change. Probably started around 2011, to be honest. Like in terms of the crowds coming to comedy shows, it was kind of, I don't know, someone told me, it's kind of put it in this framework of like in the 80s, maybe late 70s, early 80s, when stand up comedy really started booming, people would go to comedy shows to hear what the comedian had to say. They wanted to hear a take that they couldn't
Mhm.
come up with, they never heard. They're just like, give me comedy. They go to a pizza shop, whatever. There's comedy all over the place because it was just a cool thing to go. And it was actually a perfect time for it because, there's like four public channels, PBS and three networks or whatever at the time. A lot of people didn't have cable. And even if you did, it's
Mhm.
like 20 channels. So live entertainment, was a great option for that. And then, politically stuff that's going on, economically, all the kind of things going on in the 80s. And you had kind of boomers kind of coming into making a lot more money. So there was it's just kind of perfect intersection of you have a bunch of people with cash and wanting to go do something, and there's not that many other entertainment outlets for it, and you can go see live comedy. You didn't care what they had to say or who they are. You didn't really know, like kind of like you're saying, you don't know who the comedians are. And then at some point over the last, 30 years, it by 10 years ago, it turned into, okay, I don't want to go see comedians I don't know, or I don't know what they're going to
Mhm.
say. I want to hear me reflected back to me. I want to, if someone gives me a bad George Bush take or something, I'm out of here, and that
Mhm.
somewhere in the 2000s and, maybe post 2008, um, the audiences kind of really started getting really picky about that. And then, definitely after social media, because everyone can kind of group to like, this is your
Yeah.
community, this is
Yeah, I
your
wonder
thing.
if yeah, I wonder if that's sort of like a mark of specialization, like where it in a
Hmm.
similar way. I'm trying to think of what would be similar. A similar way would kind of be like pornography, where
Oh, okay.
like, I guess there was a time when you would go to watch porno in a theater, and it would be like, okay, well, this is what you got. These are the choices that you have here. But
I think the
now
original one was just looking in someone's house. I think that was, I think that was the first round.
peeping Tom, it was basically, do I know this person? All right, I'm gonna go see this person perform
Yeah.
tonight.
8 o'clock. All right.
Yeah. Whereas now, I mean, with porn, it's like, okay, what are you into? Okay, you could basically spend your whole
Right. Yeah.
life
The
just
categories.
yeah, just watching, face sitting. Like, okay, that's your thing? Okay. Okay, we have you
Right.
covered. So, okay, well, what are you into? You're into absurdist one-liner comedians?
What's the thing
Ok
they dress the costume, the furries?
yeah,
That's me
yeah.
trying to act like I don't know what it is. No, yeah, was
Like,
that
there's
like,
not
yeah,
a gigantic mouse head behind you, like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a thing
uh,
for people. They have conventions. I mean,
yeah.
that's a big thing.
But it is interesting, that you bring up, like, the idea of people going to a show to see themselves reflected back at them.
Yeah.
It kind of ties into, like, the identity stuff that we were talking about earlier. And you were going to bring up something about identity in particular. I think
Oh, yeah, I was telling yeah, so, if this podcast doesn't get me canceled, then addressing this probably will, but, what I gotta have a career to get canceled, right? So, I had this post that probably this really just made me shut down, honestly, for the last few years. Is like it's like late 2018. There was a campaign on Netflix called "The First Time I Saw Me" or something like that, I think. And they had these commercials, and they had a bunch of people on there, and it was like, someone going like, "The first time I saw me, I saw Dora the Explorer," and I was like, "Oh, it's me," whatever. And as this whole thing, it almost kind of felt sad, but it was meant to be a diversity campaign for like all these different types of people and backgrounds and stuff, and how, good it made these people feel when they saw someone of their background, of their, race or gender or sexual orientation or whatever. And so when you watch that, I'm not a hater of these people or whatever. If anything, my first thought was like, man, that's so unfortunate that they had to wait till they saw someone that represented these superficial, uncontrollable characteristics before they actually felt their identity validated. And so I kind of had this post was just saying like, I just don't like this concept of you have to see it to like be satisfied. Cause like, wouldn't it be better if we can at least strive for like a society, or, in terms of entertainment, where you see yourself in people that don't have these characteristics? Because I think people, when they think about their identity on a deeper level, it really comes down to kind of like tone and temperament, your kind of attitude, how you walk through the world, your kind of, how you're perceiving things. And when you think of it that way, that's a much broader thing. People of all races, we all know someone who's like a jock and an asshole and super insensitive, of any race, of any background, any, gender identity, social, sexual orientation, whatever. It's like that exists. But then there's also people that are, just like little puppy dogs, and they're just, they're super happy and excitable, and they're friendly, and they love everything, and they're so, soft and nice. You just want to love that person. That also occurs in every background. So if we had a system where, or at least in terms of entertainment, where we kind of focus more on that, then you could, as a viewer, could connect with someone who doesn't have these superficial backgrounds of being the same race or same gender or same sexual orientation, whatever, because you're connecting with them on that kind of deeper quality of like, I like how they see the world. That's how I see the world. That's my superhero. That's my role model, you know? And then that way you have a broader amount of people that we can all, basically we can find role models in so many more people. But if you narrow it to this idea that you're never going to be happy until you see yourself as a role model up there, and you know, we got to fight to get your face on the screen so you can be happy, then you're just kind of destined to just be sitting there waiting like, when am I going to see me? Where's my thing? And you're missing out on so much stuff. And anyways, I'm kind of paraphrasing the thing, but I basically posted that on like Facebook, Instagram a couple years ago, coming up, I guess, on 3 years ago. And I got lit up, man. People got so mad. A bunch of people unfriended me. And I hate even saying that. It sounds so lame and corny. They unfriended me. But it's just, these are all like liberal, progressive people. I thought
did they not see themselves in you posting something they disagree with?
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, exactly. It's like, the funny thing is people that disagreed with me all had an anecdotal reason. They all just said, well, when I was 10 years old, I saw this thing and I was like, oh, I had curly hair and everyone made fun of me at school. And that was the first time I saw someone curly hair. And then all of a sudden I felt cool and that was my thing. And I'm not trying to shit on that experience. I'm like, well, I'm glad you found something to feel better about yourself. And it sucks that you didn't feel that way beforehand. What I'm saying is now think about how cool it would have been if you could have found that same feeling before even seeing someone with curly hair or whatever before yourself. And what if we preached that? What if we worked on trying to get people to think and feel that way about seeing themselves? So it's not on these superficial qualities, but more on this kind of deeper personality, temperamental level. And people just kind of go, no, dude, if the first time I saw me, I felt good and you just don't get it. And I'm just like, when you think I never saw someone that looked like me on TV until I saw myself on TV. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't do stand up because I saw some half Asian person do stand up. I started doing it before I didn't even know who else was doing stand up, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wonder, on that issue, I wonder if I kind of have a kind of a blind spot for it, just because I've seen, I guess, a lot of people who kind of look like me, like through the years. Like right now I'm rocking kind of like a Al Pacino and Serpico kind of
I
thing.
like it, man. I wish I could rock that beard. That was nice.
And then I also have like I have a Martin Scorsese thing in Taxi Driver right there. But the idea of me seeing myself in Al Pacino playing a cop that goes against the department, or Martin Scorsese who's sitting in the back seat of a taxi with Robert De Niro in the front seat, saying that he's gonna go shoot his wife who's having an affair with him with a black guy. I mean, physically, I can see myself, but not on the literal, on the narrative level. So I think, so I admit that with stuff like that, I have a blind spot for it. Like I couldn't get excited over like Black Panther. I don't understand I couldn't understand how important that was for people, without them telling me, hey, no, this is actually, really important for us, that we are, seeing ourselves on stage and on screen. But the question that I have though is, like, aside from, seeing somebody who looks like you on screen, right? How are we quantifying when that's enough? Because like you said, the Asian community in the United States, right? And notice it's Asian. It's not even like, oh, Filipinos versus Koreans versus Japanese. For some reason, people have put Asians all together, right? And it's a pretty small, number of people. It's a small minority, like you said, like 5%. So technically, if we're going to be like, equal or equitable, you should only be expected to see 5% of people,
right,
or 5% of yourself on screen,
yeah.
and it's like you get into those arguments. And I remember I did a video a while back making fun of God, it was like what was it? It was a Matt Damon movie where it takes place in China and he's fighting dragons or something like that. And I think a bunch of Americans were pissed off because Matt Damon, white savior in this, in this Chinese movie. But it turns out it was produced in China. The Chinese love Matt Damon and were totally cool with it. So it's
Oh,
like American Asians were upset with something that the Chinese fully embraced.
yeah.
And part of it was doing research about like the demographics and representation versus populations, and it turns out like Black Americans were represented about they might be a little bit more, there might be a little bit more representation in film and TV than compared to the population.
Hmm.
And I think everyone was sort of on the level where it was supposed to be by the numbers, but it turns out like Latinos and Hispanics were lower than
Oh yeah,
than their representation there. And then,
sure.
it's like, man, are we playing a numbers game, and
Yeah.
it does seem like, you just can't win, that there's no real solution to any of this stuff.
I just don't know what the goal is. Like, is the
Yeah.
goal like that we get to all things are, whatever the demographics, the arbitrary and ever changing demographics of the country, 13% this and 15% that, and 5.6% this, like that's all changing. This is why that's a bad metric to me. Cause like, let's say all movies and TV shows all, fit that eventually, average out all the NBC, ABC, whatever. And bam, we're hitting the demographics of the United States on there. That doesn't mean racism isn't happening. If anything, you've kind of, made it harder for you to determine if race is happening because you've constructed this idea that if we achieve this, racism isn't happening. So, and if anything, you might have more of it happening because, like you said, if you have that's why I've always been against the kind of seemingly kind of quota situations because I just kind of, did the math, not even making an Asian joke about it. But I'm like, if Asians are 5% of the population, roughly, give or take, and that encompasses all Asian types, or countries, then for backgrounds, let alone I'm mixed. So technically I'm like part of this 2% of people that are racially mixed. I actually kind of tried to do the breakdown of it. Like if you go down to like who's half Japanese, who's half white with like a Japanese dad, I'm an only child, kind of put all these kind of factors in. There's probably like 300 people in the whole country like me. I'm like, I should never be on TV. I've already been on TV a couple times. I'm done. I've actually exceeded my allotment for my whole lifetime. So it's like I don't like this idea. Plus, it's like you narrow the opportunities. So like if there's 20 people, like let's say it's whatever one out of 20, and you have 20 episodes or something on a sitcom and X amount of guest stars and all this stuff, like that's me and every other Asian American male actor roughly in my age range competing for this one role a week for whatever. It's like almost nobody's going to get it. My personal philosophy in terms of diversity is every role should be open to all ethnicities. And even if you're doing a documentary thing, even then it depends on like how kind of, if you're kind of doing a stylistic kind of thing versus like you're just doing a historical documentary, like this is exactly what happened, then maybe you want to kind of get someone who look like the actual real life person. But if you're maybe doing some kind of comedy spin-off alternate world thing, then like who cares? You're kind of just trying to get the message across. But if it's just for fictional stuff, like why not just open everything to everything, right? The reason why they don't is because it's too time consuming. You can't have thousands of actors auditioning for every single part. There's already not enough time to do that as it is. So they have to find ways to narrow it down. And that race is one of the things, the way they do that. But what happens is currently is, so there's like, SAG-AFTRA rules that they have to audition a certain amount of minorities for each project. And I don't know if it's each project or each role or whatever, but like I think it's for each project. But what happens is the writers, the producers, the casting directors, they all kind of know what they're looking for. They're like, we're looking for a white guy here. This could be any non-white girl, probably a black Latino guy for this. This one, who cares? This is kind of everybody. And they kind of already have that figured out. They audition everyone. And I can speak from personal experience, and I'm sure a lot of non-white actors in LA have had this happen, where you basically go to audition for something and you're auditioning for like one of the main roles, like a lead in a sitcom or a
Mhm.
film. And you're like, oh, this is awesome. Oh, look at this thing. And maybe it doesn't have a race in it, or maybe it does, but you're like, all right, maybe they're looking for a different option. Maybe they gotta, they want a different flavor for this. Cool. You rehearse, you go to acting coach, you prepare, go in, and then what does it look like? The room is filled with all minority people that don't look anything the same. And then you
Mm.
look at the date of the script and you realize, wait a minute, this revision was like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and you realize what you're in for. You're part of that minority quota of everyone auditioning for this project. They've already have the offer out to some, superstar white guy probably or whatever it is.
Right.
And they just go, oh, we got to get a thing. And so everyone has no chance at getting this role now. And
Yeah.
that's already what happens. So if you limit that even more to like getting these kind of quota things, it's like so many people are not going to have a shot.
And something that, the someone who's not involved in the business won't even, might not know, but like in addition to, you running your lines and learning your lines and, practicing with a coach, there's also just the reality of you're going to be driving from fucking like if you live in the valley, you're going to be
Yeah.
driving from the valley, to Hollywood, or I remember going on auditions in Santa Monica, so
Yeah.
driving from Franklin Village to Santa
Yeah.
Monica, you know, there and back. It's like there's a lot of gas money. There's
Yeah.
maybe some parking tickets. There's a lot of
Sure.
time that's being wasted
Sure.
where it's you look around and you're like, wait a minute. I'm an Asian dude. I'm a half Asian dude. Over there is an Indian guy. Then we got like an obese black guy, and then it's like, do they not know what they want? Or I
Yeah.
get it. Or the scenario that you just described. It's sort of like
Yeah.
this is the
That happens so
checklist.
many times, and it's really not a good feeling because you're just kind of they're kind of figuring out a way to, play by the rules, but
Mhm.
really, you have a shot in the dark. Now, I'm sure there's some story out there of somebody who was in that situation and they actually got the part, but that's like a 1 in a million shot. That almost never happens because they already have it figured out and they're trying to fit this quota, and that's why it's a tricky thing because you do want to have opportunities for, different types of people and roles. That's why I kind of go back to the temperament and tone thing. I think one of the, the kind of racist thing that happens with kind of casting and whether it's writing or casting. Personally, I think it's more in the casting and producing minds because they're the people that kind of see everybody and kind of do a lot of the filtering. People say it's the writers, and that's part of it, but that only means the writer has to explicitly write, oh, looking for half Asian American or whatever person. I'm saying like, well, what if the writers and producer people just were able to look at that and go, okay, what are we really looking for? Are we looking for someone who's tech savvy? Are we looking for someone who's aloof and just ditzy? Are we looking for someone who's like a jock and like a meathead? And you think about these other qualities that if you're not racist, you actually know they exist in all areas, right? There's
Mhm.
Asian meatheads, there's ditzy whoever. Like so, but I think what happens is in the casting and producing world, they actually have a narrow mindset, and they only think they can't see that. They're just like, oh, I've never seen an Asian meathead, And so the only way you do come circumvent that is if you actually look so like you have to come in like The Rock or something like that, and then like, oh, okay, we get it now. You're a muscle guy, and it's like, well, you wouldn't have that same emphasis for like just kind of regular jock white guys, right? If you see like a fraternity or something like that, like not everyone there, they're all broy guys, right? But they're not all super muscly
Mhm.
meatheads. So I'm just trying to expand the idea of thinking of what types are out there.
Yeah. And I wonder too when it comes to the stories being told.
Hmm.
And I had a friend of mine, Brian Torres Day. I don't know if you know Brian, but he's a comedian as well. And we were talking about stories and representation as well. And he's Chicano, so his parents are from Mexico. And talking about there's really interesting stories to be told, from those cultures. And it seems
Sure.
like anytime though, it's like is the way to get more representation in Hollywood, do you have to like tell the immigrant story? like the first
Mhm.
generation, like I
Oh,
am a
yeah.
first generation, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, yeah.
Here is my story, as opposed to, yeah, here's like, a rom-com and
Yeah.
everything that happens in a rom-com happens. And I
Yeah.
just happen to be, this ethnicity, and
Yeah.
they were cast. It seems like there's so much with the identity stuff bottled up in uh really needing to see yourself and your story, as opposed to
Mm.
like, oh, that's a guy who looks like me, but he happens to be playing just like a cop.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I guess, yeah, with the writing, there is that story element of like that is lacking in terms of like, ethnic minorities where they are stuck in first gear with this like immigrant. My parents are an immigrant, and then I grew up eating weird food and I got made fun of and had to translate for my parents. It's like I've heard that my whole life. Like it's just kind of I don't want to take away from those stories. I don't want to be. I want to be clear here. Like those still exist, people like those. That's a real part of life. I don't want to not have those. We just need to add to the profile here. Like, because especially living on the West Coast, I didn't even really think about this. I grew up in Northern Virginia outside DC. I moved to LA in 2003. I didn't really ever think about this, but there's so many like third, fourth, fifth generation Asians, Latinos, and stuff out there, people that aren't really in this first generation narrative, right? And that was one of the first things I realized when I came out. I was like, why? How is Hollywood based in California, surrounded by all these stories, surrounded by people that have, great grandparents that came over pre World War One from China or Japan or whatever, right? Mexican family members that came over before, maybe even back as before California was a state or something, like 1850, or at the very least since before World War II. And so you're several generations deep here where they may not even speak Spanish. And to me, these stories are more interesting because if your goal is to like combat racism and things like that, and you're in your head, you're like, there's all these racist white people in Idaho or wherever, then getting them more experience, or getting them to see that there's all these other stories that exist in the country, I think also would help kind of break that down a little bit. But if they kind of keep seeing like, oh, this funny foreigner story, it's very easy for them to kind of dismiss it and just kind of go, yeah, whatever, we get it. You don't speak the language, whatever. It kind of almost indulges in their racist ideas, And I was just amazed by that with like, especially with the Latino stories. LA is 49% Latino, right?
Right.
It's literally half Latino out here. And when they underrepresent the Latinos and stuff, I'm like, how is Hollywood even doing? Every other person you're seeing has a Hispanic Latino background. How are you not like thinking of this? So it's so strange that that they just they ignore all these stories for something that's just kind of trendy and
Mhm.
almost like safe. The foreigner came over and
You
this
know, I
happened and whatever.
Yeah, and I wonder too, what if there is a tension between telling, immigrant stories, or, the stories of, children of immigrants, versus telling uh African American stories.
Mhm.
Because ultimately, when you're talking about production companies, it's, you know, there's uh there's money, there's capital being invested, and it's like, where is this money going to be invested? Which stories are
Mm.
we going to tell? And I wonder, I don't know. It seems like there might be a tension there where it's sort of like, have, African Americans been given their due when it comes to like the silver screen, when it comes to TV shows? Because you start seeing stuff like Oscar So White and stuff,
Oh
and
yeah.
when I see Oscar So White being uh being retweeted by people who aren't black, I'm like, what are you guys talking about? What are you guys talking about? Who do you think you are in this situation? Who do you think you are in this situation? But I don't know, that was just something that sort of came to mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I just man, a lot of these things get boiled down to like simple marketable concepts that are kind
Mhm.
of easy to digest in social media. And a lot of people end up talking about like Hollywood stuff and they just don't know. They don't, they just kind of assume what's happening out there. They kind of heard of oh, Harvey Weinstein's out here, and it's like that's what Hollywood is. There's just a bunch of these creepy old white guys, and they're raping chicks and stuff, and that's how Hollywood works. And they're only putting straight white dudes and stuff, and there's a lot more going on. It's a lot more complicated. And some of these like solutions that they have, like that they're kind of putting online, a lot of people are buying into. It's not really helpful, and honestly, it kind of gives kind of false sense of hope or something that like, oh yeah, if we just do this, then we'll get our thing or whatever, and you just end up making like another group of people upset. I just think ultimately, when you focus on these surface characteristics, even if you're trying to make people happy, you just inevitably have a backlash to that of people that are still focusing on the surface characteristics. Like if you go, oh, first time I saw me, then you're going to get some, angry white people going like, well, what about me? I don't see me. Because technically, I don't see a lot of stories from coal miners from West Virginia on TV. You know what I mean? Are they represented? And I think a lot of it is just people. It's so weird. We're like connected so much with online stuff, yet everyone's almost more narrow in their life experience and kind of what they know is out there. I've been to every state doing stand up. I grew up in Virginia, like I said. I went to college in West Virginia. I've lived in California. In terms of racial dynamics, Northern Virginia is super mixed, diverse. There's a lot of, embassies and stuff, and obviously the embassy in Japan. So there's a lot of these different communities for different lots of, groups of people that I grew up with in like elementary school. West Virginia has like the lowest rate of Asian people in the whole state, and now is obviously one of the reddest, most conservative states in terms of voting for president, and probably state stuff too. So I went to college there, and then I live in California, which is obviously super blue, super liberal, at least in LA where I live, and has one of the highest rates of Asian population. So, and like I said, I've been to every state in between. So it's like you kind of, when you start seeing all this, you kind of see it's like, this is a lot more difficult to solve than just like 140 word, 120 whatever, tweet that we can kind of just put on a poster board or something out there.
And everyone who unfriended you, they didn't solve anything. They weren't part of the solution at all.
Dude, people I never even talked to hit me up, and it made me so mad because I'm just like, we've been friends for 10 years on here. You've never been like, hey, what's up? You've never asked me about anything. Some of these people actually have gone on to blow up more on YouTube or whatever. Me, and good for them. I don't hate them for it, but it's kind of weird when like, it's like 10 years ago, they were like, hey, I want to come see a show. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Come to the show. And then now they're like some popular person in, there's some social media darling with all the progressive stuff. And then I post that and they light me up. And I'm like, you're not my friend. Like,
my favorite is when somebody who I don't know, I've never met, I've never had a conversation with, says, you're better than this.
Oh God.
I'm better than this? What the?
I've gotten that. I'm disappointed in you. Do better.
Oh yeah. I'm disappointed in you.
Dude, ironically, nothing makes me want to kill myself more than when these people say that. I'm like, are you trying to save lives out here? There was
a guy a few years back who posted a comment basically saying like, you're better than this, I'm disappointed in you or something like that. And I had enough interactions with the guy before this, like where I felt like, you know what, I'm gonna message you directly. And I messaged him directly, and I said, look, this is where I stand on this topic and this subject. And I say, as far as saying like, you're not the first one to hit me with one of those holier than thou messages,
Yeah.
I said, but I don't know you beyond, this sort of very tiny relationship that we have. Yeah. And I said, but why don't we get together and we could talk, and you can show me that you're a man whose opinion I should care about. You need to, it's on you to prove to me that I should care about your opinion. And he never got back to me. But there are just so many people where I don't know, it's sort of like it's the easiest way to sort of to moralize, or to say that I'm better than you, or I guess what virtue signal is another way to put it.
I just don't even know like who that's for. Is it for themselves to make them feel like they did the right thing? Is it for everyone?
I think it's for others to for others to see it. too.
Yeah, I
Um,
this goes back, like someone said that to me. This is actually the first time I heard POC, people of color, which
uh-huh.
I refuse to use. I'm not saying it. I drew the line at POC. I say minorities. I don't know what the
Yeah.
problem was with that. It's ethnic minorities. I guess I'm assuming someone thought that there was a negative connotation because you're saying minor, minority. It
Yeah.
sounds lesser
It's
than or something
belittling.
like
It's
that.
yeah.
I never really got the explanation for it, but I feel like internationally in other countries, ethnic minority is what people say because everyone is the same color. Where you
Yeah.
have the obviously look at like Eastern Europe and like Middle East and stuff like that. There's people of all sorts of different ethnic backgrounds. They have the same shade. They have the same. So you can't really go people of color, but they
Yeah.
do have problems because they have different ethnic minorities, different backgrounds, and they're arguing about stuff or whatever their historical issues are. And so I don't see what the problem is with using that here. And so one time this actually goes back to 2012. You remember the Jeremy Lin fiasco? And
I remember him being Asian.
yes,
Uh,
still Asian,
still,
Asian
is he
American.
still?
I think
Man,
so.
he's still running that game? He's still running.
Yeah, yeah. He's still going with that. Asian American superstar. From California. He basically what happened was there was a headline on ESPN.com at 2 a.m. that said, so basically he started, the Knicks were struggling. He became a starter, blah, blah, blah. They win like 7 games in a row. They get to 500 and then they lose. And then everyone was like, oh man, they lost. So the headline online says, chink in the armor, turnovers cost Knicks 7-game win streak or snap 7-game win streak or whatever, right? And then there's a picture of Jeremy Lin like diving for the ball in the thing, right? Now I saw that and I laughed and because I was like, oh god, like someone's gonna get fired for this or
Yeah,
like
an editor,
someone's not
yeah,
paying
copy
attention.
editor is definitely going to be losing their job. Yeah.
Yeah, right. It was on at 2 a.m. for like 20 minutes. People started lighting them up on Twitter, whatever. And then it got taken down. More people saw that in the backlash that occurred the next day with everyone going, can you believe ESPN did this? And I'm like, if this is so toxic to read, why are you sharing it? Like, way more people saw it in the aftermath than actually saw it probably during that 20 minutes on there. And so I posted a video about this. The last time I made vlog videos about this because I got so lit up and it was just super annoying. Like, but basically I was saying like, I was trying to take the position of being like charitable. Like, what if this guy who wrote it, which turned out to be a Latino guy, Hispanic guy, I'm not sure. I don't know what he was going by at the time. This was 2012. So were we saying Latinx, Latino, Hispanic? I don't know, but
well, he definitely. I bet he doubled down on whatever the fuck he was because he's like, yo, I need some protection right now.
well, that wasn't cool back then. So
Right.
like it was like a young intern guy. He posted it. Now the problem is with headlines is people have written, cheeky pun intended headlines. So when you see that and you see that picture, it's very easy to connect that and go, they did this on purpose. And I'm like, maybe they did, but what if this guy didn't? Because if you're familiar with sports writing, that phrase is kind of an old cliche that has been used a bunch of times. I know this from following sports and watching this. Like, if you just Google chink in the armor and then, 2007 Patriots defense or Shaquille O'Neal free throws 2001 or something like that. Like, it's been used in like a lot of things. So I go, what if the guy who wrote this was just thinking of, hey, the turnovers were the chink in the armor that cost them the game.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't even pick the picture. He just wrote the article. Someone else put the picture. Maybe that person's racist. But wouldn't it be crazy? Wouldn't it be a good sign if he was actually not seeing race so much that he didn't realize he was doing something racist? Like he was so not thinking of the racist implication.
A lot of people
You know what I mean?
are incapable of imagining that there might be a person out there acting in good faith who has no idea of the racial components of something like
Right.
that. Like, for example, someone saying like, monkey on his back or something like that. And
Oh yeah,
there are some people like you would say monkey on his back and they would be like, oh shit, that's racist. But then other people would be like, wait, I don't get it. Why is it racist?
Right.
And
Yeah.
then you need to explain it to them and they're like, ooh, that is racist. That's gross.
Yeah.
Why did you just put that in my head? I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't want to think about that.
Yeah. And I got in an argument with some people because I wasn't making a claim of if I knew the guy was racist or not, or the intent or not. Maybe it was. Or not. He ended up getting fired. Jeremy Lin was interviewed about it. He was just like, "Look, I think we should just move on." And he accepted the dudes. Apparently, the kid who did it was like some 18-year-old, 19-year-old intern. He apologized. He's some like supposedly some nice Christian kid that was like just super sheltered, never even knew that this was like a insult or something like that. Apparently a lot of Asian groups got mad because they're like, this term has been thrown around as a way to get away with saying it without saying it. Now I never encountered this as a kid, but apparently in California, where there's a lot more Asian dominant high schools, or a bigger Asian population than like where I grew up, that was a kind of common sneaky insult. Like, no, I'm not saying it. I was just saying chink in the armor, bro, chink in the armor, whatever. So I was like, okay, I could see why people are triggered and offended, because you see that, you're just like, what the fuck? That's like the playground insult of my childhood, and they're just putting it on the website. So I understand why people are upset. I was just trying to call for like, okay, someone's going to get reprimanded for this, fired. It's obviously somebody should have thought better in this situation to go, guys, let's not put this online. And so there's definitely something, someone needs to be held accountable for that. But at the same time, I didn't understand why everyone was like so infuriated over just like words on a screen. It's like
I wonder if sometimes like that sort of thing becomes sort of like opportunistic, where it's like, finally we have an opportunity here to be outraged, to be self-righteous, to be to be targets, like, okay, and let's hop on that. Like you brought up POC, people of color. And I have a theory about people of color. I think that it's
you do?
I think the reason why it came about is because if you say you're a person of color, it's your way of appropriating Black pain, historical pain, without actually having to be Black, without actually having to go through it. So
for like people that are non-Black, you saying I'm a person of color.
So I grew up in Queens, and like I said, on the playground. I mean, the playground, in my childhood, if you will, I was called a spick. I was, targeted. I all this shit that I had to deal with.
Yeah.
And, to grow up in Queens and like hear like an Indian kid or a Pakistani kid saying, yeah, me and Black kids had the same struggle. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, man?
Yeah, there is something kind of insulting a little bit where you try to like equate your issues to obviously people that have a much deeper, different history than whatever your more recent issues
it happened
are.
a few years ago. I was at a mic, and the comedian who went up before me was like an Indian guy with like long hair, kind of effeminate, like an effeminate Indian guy. And he was trying to do this bit. And, sometimes like people, people will try to, will give you like a little anecdote from their life, but you're like, that didn't happen. Shut up. You're trying to make this bit a bit in your life.
Right.
And he brought up the police, like, yeah, man, you know how the police talk to us, you know what I'm saying? And there was like another Black comedian in the front row.
No.
And then when I got up there, I'm like, I basically called him out. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? I'm like, dude, I'm more likely to be shot by a cop than you are. Why don't you sit this one out, dude? I'm not the one, it's like statistically speaking, I'm more likely to get my ass kicked by a cop or shot by a cop than you. Don't try to get in on the struggle.
Yeah. I think that's a consequence of this collective externalization of identity. It's not just me and my identity, but my identity exists in everybody else and all these things. And we have this shared thing, and like we're all, your pain is my pain and stuff. And
we're being held down. Well, it's also if I'm in pain, if I'm a victim, then there's no way I could be victimizing you. So we could be friends, so I don't have to account for anything. I don't have to account for anything. It's like, I mean, you know me well enough. I think people need to account for what they actually do rather than some collective
well, that's what I got lit up on, is like, because I wasn't towing the party line on the Jeremy Lin take, which by the way, my whole argument was let's just let Jeremy Lin's lead tell us what to do. And he was interviewed and he was just like, yeah, you know, I accept his apology. I think it was a mistake and we should move on. I mean, he had a real, like, just strong kind of, you know, measured response to it. And I was like, all right, well, let's go with that. He's
Yeah.
the target of this and let's follow his lead. And people didn't want to do that. And then people got mad at me for saying like that, you know?
Well, that's really, and that's actually, you know, a testament to how mature he was and
Yeah.
is, and also the type of guy he is. You know, there was I think it was probably like a few years ago where I guess Jeremy Lin had some braids in his hair. He was wearing braids while playing.
Oh, okay.
I hope I'm getting
The
this
cultural
right.
appropriation.
Yeah, so he would no,
Oh,
he was another basketball player, an African American basketball player, called him out on cultural appropriation.
oh boy.
But then it turned out this guy, this same basketball player, had a tattoo of Chinese writing on his skin. So Lin was basically like, "Look, man, I'm cool with you tattooing, you know, these letters on your skin.
Oh
You know,
wow.
like we're all good." So I think that he seems like a really you know, like I said, like a mature guy, a cool guy, and also, you know, you're talking about this happening all those years ago. It's sort of you know, I wonder if that, you know, if that poor kid who's now a man, uh, you know, if he tries to get a job, if that's going to come back to haunt
Yeah.
him. Like, are people going to be like, no, when you were an 18-year-old intern, you
Yeah.
used the term chink in the armor, so now, you know, you can't be an editor at Teen Vogue,
Yeah, I
you know,
wonder
so
where that guy is. Yeah, he's got to be 27 or something
yeah.
now. Like, what has he been doing? I mean, it would be. I mean, it'd be messed up, but it'd be kind of funny if he's like super hard right now and he was like at the Capitol and like, you know, what
He
I mean?
stormed the Capitol building.
Like that somehow shit. It like had the opposite effect. You thought it was going to make him more empathetic, and he just went hard the other way and was like,
Dude, I had yeah, I had this idea for a sketch, basically in response to the whole like educate yourself. I'm not here to educate you. You go educate yourself. So a, you know, quote unquote Karen decides to go and educate herself, but rather than coming, you know, over to the right side, she ends up being like, oh, you know what? I educated myself, and yeah, I believe in white supremacy now. I believe in white power. I'm with these guys now.
yeah.
Thank you so much for telling me to go educate myself.
Yeah, I found all the answers actually.
Thank you.
Turns
Thank
out I needed to do my research and
Yeah, yeah, I am part of the superior race. Wow, thank you so much for
yeah.
sending me down that track.
Yeah, there's a weird thing with some of the language there. Where I just I always you know think of myself as liberal, left, center, left. I don't know what whatever like wherever the liberal part ends and then the cliff of like insane progressive people fall off. I'm like right there at that edge. I'm like, I can see them. I'm waving to them, but I'm not going over the cliff because they almost make. I feel like there's only two groups of people that make whiteness so powerful, and it's like people that are super whatever the far left is that are just talking about whiteness all the time, and then actual white supremacists that are just like white is the right. You know what I mean? Like white has done everything great, and it's just like you guys are both insane, and you're saying the shit that they're saying. I don't even understand how you don't hear yourself, and it's a real strange consequence of like so like with the Jeremy Lin thing is someone hit me up on Twitter, was all mad at my take, and I said, listen, I kind of like you. I messaged a thing. I was like, listen, man, I'm not gonna get in a Twitter argument with you. I'll just give you my phone number. Let's just talk about it. I remember I was doing a college gig. I was in Connecticut. I'm like sitting in a parking lot of some like strip mall, talking to this dude for like 2 hours in some rental car. And at some point he goes, I just want POC solidarity. And I was like, what? I was like, what's that? And I was like, what's POC? And he goes, person of color. Like he couldn't believe that I didn't know the term. Now this guy, it's almost like this like academia thing that has bled into everything. A lot of these arguments. This guy was like a graduate student and associate professor at Howard University in DC. So, and he's, studying cultural studies and kind of ethnic studies and stuff like that. So he's an educated guy. This is like his world. So obviously him talking about these things, it's very important to him. And so, but me, I'm a comedian. I'm just trying to like observe and make jokes about stuff. So he couldn't believe that I didn't know the term POC at the time. This is 2012. I was like, okay, I don't know what that means. And then it turned out it's like, yeah, we have to have POCs versus white people. And so no arguing over here because white people are the thing.
And
And
you're like, I got to tell one of my parents, I got to break the news to them
yeah,
that
and
there's
I'm
going to
just
be a
like, oh,
race war or something like that.
yeah, I'm like, I just don't, I didn't identify with that thing. And then another person I got an argument with from Twitter, that I gave my phone number. They were is an Asian American group in New York. They got there's some woman there. She got mad. We basically had a phone call, same kind of thing.
Such a woman thing to do, to get mad. Women be getting mad.
Women be trifling. So she was the head of this organization. She was so pissed. And so same thing. I gave her my phone number. I said, let's talk about it. And we had this conversation. And I kind of figured out where the opinions diverge, because we had agreements on, like, obviously there's racist people. Obviously there's fucked up things happening. Obviously there's diversity issues, all this. But where we diverged is how to handle smaller grievances, microaggressions or things like that. And her philosophy was, we have to lay the hammer down. This is a quote. She's like, we have to lay the hammer down on all instances to smash racism. And I just like I'm more of like a appropriate resources kind of thing. It's like if someone says something mild, it's like you tell them to shut the fuck up. That's the end of it. You don't need to
Yeah.
bring in the cavalry for like one small thing. And their philosophy was this idea that these small events eventually contribute and grow into bigger events. So we need to squash all the small events. I think the reason why they do it is it's easier to squash those small events than it is to tackle a bigger problem. So
Yeah. And her, the metaphor, need to hammer down on this. You know what they say? I mean, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
right, yeah,
And I think there is a definite problem with, how, depending on how fierce the response is to something, so like earlier we were talking about, mispronouncing somebody's name, right?
yeah,
Now, if you're the type of person where you just meet somebody and they mispronounce your name and then you lay the hammer down, it's like
yeah,
people are gonna be like, you're out of your fucking mind, you're
yeah,
fucking crazy.
yeah.
And I
It's not
think
effective either.
no, exactly. Where it would be something like, well, actually, it's pronounced like that. Oh, wow, I didn't know
Mhm.
that's how it's pronounced. Is this how you're pronouncing it? Oh, that's really cool. Thank you so much.
Right.
That how cool is that? I think um, I think the divide that you describe, sort of like left of center or liberal, and then the cliff. I think the people who are who are ready to push you off a cliff basically are the ones who it's like they're just waiting for you to make one mistake,
Yeah, yeah.
one fucking mistake, and then they're done with you. And I think that's a real sign of the differences in the people that we're dealing with now, where it's like any opportunity to lay the hammer down, any opportunity to
Yeah.
destroy this person for this one, this petty fucking thing, they'll take it.
Yeah, yeah, and especially with like back to entertainment and comedy, it's like I don't know why they apply this stuff to like comedy and jokes and kind of entertainment stuff. It's like it's a lot of it's just arbitrary and it's kind of trends. I feel like the left is obsessed with trends and the right is obsessed with traditions, and so there's always a pull to go back to some kind of traditional thing on the right, but the left is just kind of always spiraling into some new trend that's somewhat arbitrary. It's like impossible to keep up with,
Mhm.
because it's like I always say it's like with clothes. It's like, like, hey, skinny jeans are in, baggy jeans are in, plaids are in. It's the summer of, pastels. It's like it's just always changing, and you're almost never going to be right because someone's going to come along and then go, actually, that's not cool anymore. And you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, I've heard others talk about this. I think Lionel Shriver, the novelist, she wrote an article about it, about language, and like how you said, like POC, not knowing what the hell that is. Well, then now it's BIPOC, a
Oh, right.
BIPOC.
Right.
That comes out 2 weeks ago, but now you're supposed to know it. And what it does is it's a way to show that you're in the group, that you're in the know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that that you're a part of this, whatever community or gang. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, the language, you could be trusted for now, until
Right.
the next style guide comes out, and we're not using BIPOC anymore. Now we're using F BIPOC, fat black and
Yeah.
indigenous,
It
person of
just all
color.
feels to me like a big, like, 8th grade lunch cafeteria, Everyone's trying to sit at the cool kids table. Who's cool? What are we talking about? What are we wearing? What words are we saying? What food are we eating? And it's like everyone's just kinda like, "Am I still in?" And Hollywood's like exactly that, and it's always been like that, but it's just gotten really amplified because of the social media, like, you can really show it constantly. And so it's just like, I'm one of the cool kids. I'm saying the right thing. I'm part of the thing. And I mean, I have a disagreeable personality, I guess Jordan Peterson's test would probably tell me. Like,
You're very disagreeable.
yeah,
Very disagreeable.
I don't like joining. I almost have like a negative, maybe it's not healthy for me, but I see like, hey, we're all doing this thing. And I'm like, not doing it. You know what I mean? Like I almost have a repulsion.
Well,
To that
yeah,
kind of
dude,
stuff.
I mean, I'm 39. I'm 39. I'm married. I have a kid. It's like, look, I have like two close friends. That's all I got. It's like,
You
and
want to
then I have like
compare.
my family. My world is very small, and they have to deal with me at my worst. It's like there's only so much room for new people to come in, to come into my life, and it's sort of like, how much work are you going to make me do, man?
Yeah.
And something that I find where it's like there are people of very different political persuasions from me that I can get along with just because we can talk. We can
Yeah.
talk, and that's it. I don't have to worry about someone saying zip it. You use the wrong word.
Yeah, it has been unfortunate that I've gotten that more from people on the supposed left than I have on the right. I mean, I have conservative friends from high school and college, and
Mhm.
people obviously I disagree with politically or something like that, but I actually get along better. Or even with comedy, I've done shows in Indianapolis and Idaho and wherever where I wasn't holding back. I wasn't like pandering to some conservative audience or something there. I was saying what I wanted to say. But the response I would get was something like, "Hey man, I don't agree with everything you're saying up there, but you did a good job, or that was funny." And I love that kind of compliment because I'm like, cool, like you listen to me. Maybe we don't agree on this thing, but you were able to just listen, laugh, or not, and we go home, and that was the night or whatever. That doesn't really happen with a lot of, I've done shows in like Echo Park or Silver Lake or one time last time I was in New York, like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, at like Creek in the Cave or something like that, where there's like a bunch of hipster liberals and stuff there, and these people hated my guts. I mean, like
Wow.
I would do a show, it's like those New York things where you do a spot one night at like I think I did a spot at the Stand, and I did open with this joke. And it like killed. And I go to Creek in the Cave, or maybe it was somewhere else in like, Long Island City or something. And it bombed. Oh, same joke, same night,
Mhm.
same thing. And these people looked at me like, I can't believe Rush Limbaugh is here or whatever. And I'm like, what? Like, how did this even happen? And, it's like that kind of what kind of response you're getting from people and like the kind of tolerant thing in terms of comedy. It's like, I don't understand how I'm walking away feeling worse from these like more progressive rooms than I am from doing a show with, just kind of more people that I probably politically disagree with more than the other rooms.
Yeah, yeah. So, before we go, what are any projects you're up to now?
Well, I've been writing some stuff, some bits that I probably want to film as soon as I can get back on stage. I have a couple
Nice.
other things that I clipped up that I don't know if I want to release now, man. Everything's gotten crazy over the last year. I had a bit about, people getting racist towards Asians. I was saying that like last January, February, and then now that, that's like a whole big thing. And I
Now
almost
people care about it. So,
yeah, now, yeah, and I was like, I almost felt like I didn't want people to take it the wrong way, like I'm virtue signaling, like yeah, see, whatever. But people just kind of take things the wrong way, and so I don't know. We'll see. I got some transgender bathroom jokes that will probably get me canceled, and pronouns, and I don't. We'll put them out there as soon as I can kind of get a good tape of them.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to support the show, please head over to thelouperez.locals.com and go ahead and support my sponsors. Black Organic Cold Brew, head over to www.blvckbrew.com and use the promo code LOU for free shipping. And if you head over to Paloma Verde, www.palomaverdestore.com and use the promo code LOU, you'll get 25% off purchases over $75. And if you sign up for email, you'll get an extra 10% off. All right, later.